So today we're going to work through assignment 4, layers and adjustments. After you've read section 1 and 2 and watched the videos from Adobe, you'll be prepared to tackle this section in section 3. Do it. Click there, and first off we're going to download the Photoshop 02 images. So I'm going to right click and save the link as, well, actually I think I'll just click it. It'll download it to the download folder. And if I go and navigate to the download folder, I can right click on that and extract these images to, and I can choose where I want to extract them. And I want to extract them on my desktop into this Photoshop folder where I have the images that we used in the last videos. So I'm going to select that folder, and then I'm going to say extract. Those are going to extract into my Photoshop folder that is on my desktop. If we just lose these, you'll see that Photoshop 2 images are there. So, going to go back to the page on Blackboard with the instructions on what to do. These videos will be obviously here. You've gone there to find them. So, remember that for this assignment, we're going to be saving the images as Photoshop documents, not JPEGs. That way I can see the layers that you create. So don't flatten your images before saving. And we haven't even talked about flattening images, so hopefully you won't do that. But don't save them as JPEGs. You're going to save them as Photoshop documents, PSD files. And we'll do that in the demos. For adjustment 1, we're going to open the image. So I'm going to open Photoshop. Let's get that on here so you can see. And we're going to open the image. I just double click in the workspace, or I can do Control O, or I can go up here and go File, Open. And I'm going to navigate to the desktop to my Photoshop folder, Photoshop 2. I'm going to open Adjustment Image 1. And it tells me to color correct it to remove this obvious blue tint that you see on the image. And to do that, we're going to use an adjustment layer called Levels. So down here under the layers palette, you click this symbol and it comes up with the adjustment layers that are available. We're going to choose Levels, and under that palette, you see under the properties, you see a levels adjustment. We're going to choose the white eyedropper. We have a black eyedropper, we have a gray point, and we have a white point. We're going to click the white point. We're going to find something in this image that's white, and I think right here would probably be white. So I'm going to click it. Then I'm going to click something that is black in the image. I'm going to take my black eyedropper and I'm going to click here on the black preset. So now if I want to adjust the midpoints, I can drag this gray point slider. If I feel like it's too light or too dark, it's all based on your perception of that image. So I'm going to open mine up just a little bit here. Excuse me. Got a little bit of allergies going. Now it says to resize this image down to 500 by 750 pixels. So I'm going to do an image size. It is 850 by 1275. We're going to choose the width down to 500. And that'll automatically change the height to 750 to keep it in proportion, as long as we have resample selected. So I'm going to say OK. It's going to resize it down. Then I'm going to save the image as a PSD file. So I'm going to do File, Save As, and I'm going to be inside this same folder. I'll just go ahead and add to the first of this my name, Mike Brown _ as a Photoshop document. You have all these options, but it's the very top one, Photoshop, PSD, save. And it's going to say, it's going to give you some information here about the Photoshop format options. We're just going to take the defaults and say OK. So now that has saved a Photoshop document of this corrected image, again, inside this Photoshop folder called Photoshop 02. And that's where I'll go to upload the images here in just a little bit. Next, we're going to go to image 2. So I'm going to open image 2. You see a lot of these, people give you images that have faded over time. They want you to try to restore them. It's pretty easy using another adjustment layer, levels, just like we did in the last one. It does density corrections and color corrections all at the same time. So again, we'll go down here to the uh, menu for adjustments layer, and we're going to click levels. Here we're going to take, again, the white point. We're going to pick up something that we think is white within this image, probably this young boy's shirt, maybe dad's collar, maybe sister's socks. Really doesn't matter, whatever you, maybe this guy's white shirt over here. I'll say I want to pick that as my white point. Then I want to pick a black point, probably a dark shadow under this jacket right here. So quite a dramatic difference. If we come over here and turn off the visibility on that adjustment layer, we can see what a change it does just by applying an adjustment layer of levels. Now we're going to add 50 pixels to the height and width of the image using canvas size. So we'll go to Image, Canvas Size, make sure we're in pixels. If you put it in inches, it's going to be huge. So we're going to add 50 to the top, 50 to the bottom, and we're going to make sure that the canvas extension color is set to white. Say OK. We'll just add a nice little white border. And then we'll save that again. File, Save As. Again, we're in the Photoshop 02 folder, and I'm going to add my name to the first of this image name. And I'm going to save it. Yes. I don't want to show that every time, so I'm going to click the Don't Show. Now, I'll open image 3. This one is something you might see that it's just completely been taken incorrectly. Obvious, terrible green cast. It's way underexposed. Sometimes there's not a lot you can do for images like this, but you can try. And so this one we're going to try to do the same thing. We're going to use an adjustment layer. So we're going to go here and open levels again. And we're going to try to set a white point. We're going to hope that maybe this woman's dress right here above her ankle is white. So we're going to click there. That already changes the image drastically. Now we're going to move the midpoint slider to the left or right. To the left will open up those shadow areas. So we're going to move it over here till we feel like it looks like we want it to. And then we're going to go and add another adjustment layer. You can add as many adjustment layers as you want, any of these. But today we're going to use a black and white. We're going to change this to a black and white image. Now you can control, again, with the reds, the yellows, the greens, you can control how that image looks. So I'm just going to accept what it did because we're not really working with changing to black and white. We just want to change it to black and white to show you what can be done with other adjustment layers layered on top. So we've got a black and white image. We're going to add another canvas size. We're going to go to canvas size and add about 50 pixels this time to the height and width. And we're going to make this black this time and say OK. And then we're going to save it. Again, File, Save As, Adjustment 3. So I'm going to add my name again, Mike Brown. You'll be adding your name, obviously, and again, as a Photoshop document. We'll close that one out, and we'll open adjustment 4. Now this image is just really has low contrast. We could use the levels command again with the level adjustment layer, but I think this time we will actually use an adjustment layer of the brightness and contrast. So you'll go and click the brightness contrast adjustment layer, and then under your properties you'll see you have a brightness slider and a contrast slider. You're going to move the brightness brightness slider to the right until you feel like it's as bright as you want, and then you'll add the contrast here until you get some good contrast between light and dark. You want some good darks, you want some good light areas. So I think that might be a right. You don't have to choose exactly, 48 and 67. It can be whatever you feel like would be correct for this image. Then we're going to go and add another adjustment layer of hue and saturation, which we're not going to mess with hue or lightness. We're going to deal with the saturation slider, and this just makes the colors pop. And we're going to add 20 to the saturation slider. We could slide it, but if you want to be exact, you can just type in 20. You may want to add more. You may want to add less. But you can see when I toggle that, it just makes the colors pop. So we're going to save that as number 4. So now you've got those in your folder. We're going to go to the bottom of the page, and we're going to upload those files to Photoshop Assignment 4. We're going to choose from the Photoshop folder, Photoshop 02, and we're going to grab all of the Photoshop documents, and we can hold down Control or Command on a Mac, and you can select all 4 and say Open, and they will begin to upload to the Dropbox. Once you click the Upload button, you'll see them begin to upload into the folder. So now you've got Assignment 4 complete, and hopefully you understand a little more about adjustment layers. And we use adjustment layers so that we're not destructing the pixels that underlie the layer. That's one of the most important reasons we use adjustment layers.